Good day, everyone. So today is the first topic for finals, which is your athletics. So let's take first your introduction and then the brief history of athletics before we go with your track and field events. And the last topic for finals would be your multi events. For introduction, the athletics is a sport in which athletes compete in running, walking, jumping, and throwing events. So we have three main events in terms of the athletics. So the track events consist of the running and walking races at various distances. For the next topic, we'll be having the track events. So we'll be having the hurdles, the steeplechase, relays, and the short, middle, and long distances for the track events. We also have here what we call the field events, are contests in jumping or throwing events. For example, in jumping, we have the long jump, the triple jump, high jump, and your pole vault. And for throwing events, we have the discus throw, the javelin throw, the shot put, and your hammer throw. Athletics is one of the most popular sports in the world. About 200 nations belong to the International Amateur Athletic Federations, or what we call your IAAF. This is the governing body of athletics. So all of the um, sports that into an Olympics or Olympic Games presented for them, they have the specific area, specific organization wherein they are the one who establish the specific rules for specific game. For example, in volleyball, from that, 29 or 30 rules. Tapos dinagdagan nila hanggang sa magkaroon ng modified rules in terms of playing a volleyball game. So every Olympics event or Olympic sports, they have the separate organization wherein they also modify some of their equipments in a nature or in a section of kung ilan ang weight ng gagamitin sa bola na ito, kung gaano kahaba ang playing area, ang playing time for each quarter, for example, in basketball. So that is their main functions or objectives. Next that we have here is your history. So for running, jumping, and throwing have been sporting activities since the beginning of history. So most likely, ginagamit na rin ito as their forms of a social structure or in terms of their everyday life para manguha ng pagkain, para makakuha ng ligtas na tirahan. So these skills were used both in hunting and in war. So the ancient Greeks, Persians, and Romans used running as a part of their military training. So in terms of developing yung pinaka objectives nila, which is the physical or the psychomotor domain, kasi yun ang kailangan nila before in terms of pakikidigma, pakikipag kalakalan, dapat malakas ang pangatawan. So in addition, competitive human instinct led to contests to determine who could run the fastest and jump or throw the farthest. So that is the main um, objectives or main goal of the athletic events. So back before, in terms of the athletics, it is originally and um, intended only for men. So dati para lang to sa mga kalalakihan. So nagpapaligsahan sila kung sinong pinakamabilis ang pagtakbo, pinakamalayo yung talon at pinakamalayo ang paghagis ng isang bagay tulad ng shot put, ng javelin throw or ng hammer throw. So other than that, there is also discrimination before in terms of the women. So sa women, hindi sila sinasali before in terms of athletics event or athletics game. Remember, your athletics game for running, jumping, and throwing events will be the first sports that has been recorded in the history. So ito yung pinakauna-unang o uh, pinakaunang sports na naitala sa history natin. So, I don't know if there are some type of games or some types of play na ginagamit noon o ginagawa noon. Kaya nga lang ay hindi siya uh, nailimbag o not put into words or the form of a file na kinukuha natin yung mismong history katulad ng athletic events. So yung mga babae noon, again, there are some sort of discrimination for them wherein childbearing lang sila o tagadala lang ng kanilang ng bata habang sila ay nagbubuntis. Sila rin ang taga-alaga sa kanilang mga asawa. Okay, ang primary function lang nila ay sa loob ng bahay, tagaluto, tagasaing. So, and then after that, there's also some changes of functions or modifications that after men or women prove themselves that they can also do or perform other activities or other games with what men can do. Ayun, sinama na rin ang athletic events. That's why we have running events for women, jumping events for women, throwing events for women. Pero nagkakaiba lang sila sa mga gamit na um, ginagamit. For example, in terms of your javelin throw. So javelin throw, the length of the javelin for men ay mas malaki o mas mahaba compared sa javelin ng babae. So they also adapt or suit the materials that we're going to or what women can utilize for the game, kung ano mga pwede nilang gamitin na sapat lang sa kaya ng babae. Kasi if we're going to compare the power and strength, physical aspect, okay, the physical character, mas malakas ang lalaki compared sa babae. Sa babae naman, they have also many factors to consider. For example, they are very graceful. They are more flexible compared with men. They are more into balance, okay, balancing compared with um, men. So, meron din sila sari-sariling strength pagdating sa gender for men and for women. Next, the only event of the first Games held in 776 BC in Greece. So ito yung pinakauna-unahang sports na naitala sa kasaysayan ng mundo. So soon, long jumping and javelin throwing were added. So ang pinakauna dyan natin, it was stated that it was a foot race. A foot race is a term na pinaganda lang, pero ang tawag natin ngayon dyan ay running events. Okay? Pagtakbo. And these events developed naturally from hunting and in war. That's why if you still notice some of the videos or some of the movies that you have watched na may kinalaman sa Greeks, Persians, or um, Greeks, Persian, or Spartan, mga ganyan, mga war, mapapansin nyo, meron silang mga sibat, okay? Yung sibat na yon ay parang gamit na rin sa javelin. If you have already watched some of the tribe movies, yung mga may tribo-tribo na tema ng movies, example for the Inferno. Inferno is one or classification of a tribal movie wherein they also use the javelin, kind of a stick na pag initsa nila, matutusok yung kalaban. So, they adapt that in their social structure na kung saan yun yung kanilang pang-araw-araw na ginagawa. Yung pagtakbo. Sa pagtakbo, example, ikaw ay kukuha ng pagkain o ikaw ay mangangaso ng isang baboy ramo. So, gagamitin mo ang running. So, kung may nakaharang na um, kung may nakaharang na tawag dun, kahoy o may nakaharang na uh, malaking sanga, you need also to jump. So that's how athletic events or athletic games has developed. Next, other than that, it was also added here is your hammer throw, the triple jump, and the hurdle race. Hanggang meron na tayong walking races. You also have steeplechase na sinama na rin sa athletic events. Ayan, ang main objectives ay kung sino ang pinakamabilis, malakas, and most agile in terms of any event for the jumping, throwing, and jumping, throwing, and running. Next, there are also few records of sports in the Dark Ages, but in England, as early as 12th century, accounts can be found of a variety of sports being practiced by the general population, including most of the events that gradually developed in modern track and field over the centuries. So most likely, nagkumalat na ang mas popular ang athletic events Okay, it's because of two factors. Number one, mas naunang na-establish ang athletic events noong 776 BC pa. And number two factor is that kahit na wala kang gamit sa sport na ito, pwede kang mag-compete o pwede kang makipag laban sa inyong mga kasama. For example, if we're going to compare table tennis with the running events, for example, 110-meter dash or 110-meter sprint, sa mismong table tennis, you need a table, of course. You need a ping pong ball. You need also a paddle. Tapos kailangan mo pa ng net kasi ilalagay dun sa gitna. So, meron ka ng apat na kailangan na i-priority na gagamitin mo sa isang table tennis game. And how about naman um, sa running events, 400-meter dash, for example? Kailangan mo lang, magsukat ka lang ng 100 metro mula sa kinatatayuan mo, tumakbo ka hanggang sa finish line, and that's it. You are now in the athletics events or athletic games. So those are the two factors. Number one, this is the first established game in the history, and number two ay wala ito masyadong kinagamit na material or equipments to utilize for that game. Next, we also have here the foot racing. Both sprinting and distance running were widely popular in England in the later half of the 18th century and first half of the 19th century. Many of the competitions were match races between professionals, and betting was widespread. After that, meron na tayong informal sports days to more organized competition kasi na-establish na ang rules. That's why in terms of the, if we're going to compare PBA or Philippine Basketball Associations with NBA or National Basketball Association, for local and international competition for basketball, they have a separate or different rules. For example, sa PBA natin, mas maikli o shorter ang minute per game sa sa PBA natin compared for NBA for each quarter. So ibang rules din ang nakaset sa standard nila pag international competition. Next, uh, it also uh, okay, it also affects yung ating mga athlete, okay? They also have sums of money or large sums of money na nare-receive nila for endorsing athletic shoes, mga athletic products na may kinalaman sa kanilang training. For example, damit, okay? Ano pa ba? Pwede rin mga vitamins, mga iniinom tulad ng Gatorade, mga ah, pagkain na pwede nilang i-endorse na may kinalaman sa pagda-diet or having some athletic figures sa mismong katawan nila. Pwede rin mga sapatos, okay? That is the most common one. And then, they also have here presented Mr. Dick Fosbury. So, he is an American high jumper and American athlete. Teacher din siya in the late 1960s, and then he introduced what we call your flap or Fosbury flap. Ang Fosbury flap ay isang technique wherein it is used, okay, or other technique or tactics in terms of a high jump. Kasi back before, sa high jump nila, ang skill na ginagamit nila, if you are familiar into what we call Chinese garter. So Chinese garter natin, kailangan magalagpas ka doon sa kabilang um, area kung saan nakalagay yung bar o nakalagay yung garter natin. So sa Chinese garter, kailangan paa muna ang makalagpas and then followed by the other leg or other foot. Sa first barre flap, ang technique naman niya, ginamit niya ang upper extremities, ulo muna hanggang sa may bewang bago ang paa o waist hanggang paa ang papasok sa kabilang part. That's why in terms of the Fosbury flap, iniba niya. So for instance, while they're performing or using their legs, what if baliktarin natin na yung ulo muna ang papasok or cross over the bar bago yung paa. And then he also um, make a book or presented a result of uh, his performance na nadagdagan na at least 15 centimeter yung taas ng talon niya if he will going to compare yung yung old system or old technique na yung paa yung unang papasok rather than yung ulo o yung upper extremities. Next, we also have here other famous players or athletes for a different for a different events. For example, in hurdling or hurdler, we have Edwin Moses and sprinter Carl Lewis, and some of the famous athletes from a different country also. And here in the Philippines, we also have an entry which we have here is Lydia De Vega. So she is the Asia's fastest woman for almost a decade and is the pride of the Philippines. So Lydia De Vega is one of the finest athletes after the sensational events of Mona Suleiman, who had gained laurels for the country in Olympics. So ang pinaka forte naman o pinaka genre ni Lydia De Vega is more of the running events. Okay, doon siya mas nakilala at nagpa kilala sa kanya or naging famous siya because of the running events. Meron din naman tayong mga players or mga entries pagdating sa local or international competition for the throwing and jumping events. Kaya nga lang wala pang nakapantay sa popularity na meron tayo ni Lydia De Vega. Lydia De Vega, nakikita nyo na yan sa mga books ninyo before, kasama nila Lea Salonga, nila Efren Bata Reyes. So, that would be for the running events. Next, we go with the word track and field. So the track is an outdoor running tracks are oval in shape and usually are laid in stadium. Meron tayong tinatawag na outdoor track at meron din tayong indoor track. Pag sinabing outdoor track, ibig sabihin, it's more of the oval, okay, stadium, na kung saan merong mga bench areas na nakapalibot. Tapos sa tuktok niya, hindi siya covered. So walang takip. So kahit umulan yan, umaraw, ganun lang siya. Wala siyang sisulungan. Sa indoor tracks naman, of course, literal na indoor kasi nga may bubong. So the IAAF rules specify that an outdoor running tracks should measure not less than 400 meters around, and most modern outdoor tracks are exactly that length. Older tracks consist of dirt or cinders, but most new tracks are made of waterproof synthetic material and can be used in rainy weather. So yung synthetic materials na yon ay ginagamit na rin natin dito sa Kawayan. Meron na din tayo even for Ilagan sa sports complex. So that synthetic material at kahit na umulan na ganyan, hindi magiging slippery o hindi magiging um, madulas yung tatakbuhan nila kapag umulan o nagkaroon ng wet surface sa synthetic material. So, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung pagtakbo and there will be no changes with their um, ability to run or their function to run. Pero yung iba naman, especially sa mga baryo o kaya sa mga state universities na hindi develop ang oval nila o kaya ang stadium nila, gawa pa rin siya sa lupa. Kaya 'pag umulan ganyan, meron mga kalso-kalso ta's nagiging kanal. So, hindi siya considered or ideal to um, use in terms of an event, especially for the running events. Kasi nakakadisgrasya. So, here is the difference between the indoor tracks and the outdoor tracks. For the indoor tracks, kalahati lang siya ng measurement ng outdoor tracks. For 400 meters divided to 2, that will go for 200 meters for indoor tracks. Pero they have the same function. Kung pwedeng tumakbo sa indoor tracks, pareho rin sa outdoor tracks. Kung pwedeng mag-javelin throw, discus throw sa outdoor tracks, pwede rin sa indoor tracks. They have the same function. The only difference is that the measurement and then, of course, yung place na naka-flat sa kanila. For indoor tracks, kailangan may bubong. Sa outdoor tracks, okay lang kahit open air. Next, we go with the field. So most field events take place in an area enclosed by the track, but in some meetings, one or more throwing events are held outside the stadium to protect other athletes and spectators who crowd the field area to avoid damaging the artificial turf that covers many athletic fields. The field includes runways for jumping events. It also has circular areas of materials such as concrete or asphalt for most of the throwing events. Sa field naman tayo, diyan nagaganap ang mga running and throwing events. Lahat ng mga naghahagis, nagbabato, tumatalon lahat nasa gitna ng mismong oval or what we call the field. Ngayon, kung masyadong mahal ang pagkakagawa ng field natin, for example, we have mentioned here what we call artificial turf. Ang artificial turf ay parang artificial grass na ginagamit para kahit walang maintenance na ganyan, walang magdidilig, okay lang. Same color na puro green lahat ng artificial turf. Okay lang kahit patapakan sila, hindi sila malalanta kasi nga artificial lang sila, hindi sila natural na grass. So in that case, pwedeng lumipat ng ibang area ang ating mga um, participants, especially for the field of throwing. Yung javelin throw, kapag tumusok siya sa mismong grass, maghuhukay talaga yan o magbubutas. Ngayon, in order to avoid na ma-damage yung artificial turf at medyo maarte yung mismong may-ari o yung bansa na facilitate nung ganong event ng international competition, for example, in Olympics, pwedeng ilipat sila sa ibang area. But same um, rules pa rin. There will be no changes with the rules and regulations. Kaya lang ibang place siya o ibang area ang designation ng uh, throwing events and even for the jumping events. So that will be the topic for number 1 for finals, which is the athletic events.